So this guy who's been having a conversation for a few days, feel free to jump in and converse with him. He seems to be open to conversation. Says to somebody else in the comment section, "You're talking identity politics. The views of rural areas don't align with urban. Sorry, that's reality. They don't like to change and are more set in their ways." Wrong there, but this guy's been extraordinarily respectful. I'm trying to let this shit go. Racist as it may sound, but whatever. You're right. Rural areas don't align with urban areas, and vice versa. Hence the reason why you see Nebraska be red and California be blue, right? Because there are more urban liberals in California than there are rural Republicans. And in Nebraska, there are more rural Republicans than there are urban Democrats, right? And so the majority of the people in a given area vote, and that's the way the policies go. That's the way the policies go, because that's where the majority of people are. Now, here in Illinois, and this is part of the things that we've been talking about, what we hear all the time is from rural Republicans in the sparsely populated rural counties complain that Chicago and the Chicagoland area gets to set the legislative agenda. No, they don't. The majority of the people do. The majority of the people in the state of Illinois live in the Chicagoland area. There are just over 12 million people in the state of Illinois. Just over 9 million of them live in the Chicagoland area. Why? Because the majority of them, for the most part, are like-minded, right? They're more liberal than they are conservatives. That's not to say that there are not conservatives in the Chicagoland area. There certainly are. And that's not to say that there aren't liberals in the rural areas. The discrepancy is just flipped. There are a shit ton more liberal people in the Chicagoland area than there are conservative people. And there are a shit ton more conservative people in the rural counties than there are liberal people. So, rural doesn't align with urban, urban doesn't align with rural, but the majority of people in a given state are the ones that vote in the majority of the people who make the laws. So why should the Chicagoland area acquiesce to the desires and whims of the rural counties when combined, all of those 100 plus counties combined don't equal the population of one city in the Chicagoland area, let alone the entirety of the Chicagoland area? The people up here don't align with those views. We vote based on what our views are, based on what our positions are, based on what we want to see happen from a legislative standpoint, just like you guys vote that way. There are more of us than you. So the majority of the people get to set the legislative agenda. And if the people in the rural area don't align with that, oh well, there are more of us than there are you. Just like there are Democrats in rural Nebraska, or even in non-rural, suburban Nebraska. There are Democrats in Nebraska who don't align with whatever the Republicans in power are doing. Oh well, there are more Republicans than there are Democrats. If you're a Democrat in Nebraska that doesn't like what the legislature of the state of Nebraska is doing, then I suggest you move to a blue state. And if you're a conservative Republican in Illinois, in the rural area, that doesn't like what the Democratic state legislature is doing, oh well, better move to a red state. Indiana, we're surrounded by red states: Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Kentucky. Why should we acquiesce to a minority of people whose views we don't align with? The minority is asking us to acquiesce to them. Why?